I pray that I have God's eyes when I see my kids. You know, I pray that when I see them, that I can see a success possibly that the world doesn't even see. Even let's say they do achieve great, wonderful things, big things by worldly standards. I hope that that I can see something deeper than that.
Hey, welcome to the Why Not Me podcast. I'm Mike Jackson, your host. I'm a partner at Get Lifted Film Co. And today's guest is my brother from Philly, Leslie Odom Jr. You guys know him from Hamilton and a million other things. And today we're going to talk about his journey, his process, the things that got him to where he's at. I'm so excited to have this conversation, and I'm so excited to share with you guys. Please, please, please tune in, enjoy it. Welcome to Why Not Me with Mike Jackson and my guest, Leslie Odom Jr. Leslie Lloyd Odom Jr.
Full government.
August 6th. I never give years, especially when I'm interviewing the ladies, but I never give years.
Okay.
But August 6th. Now, I did just learn this. I mean, I know we have this Philly thing in common, but you were born in Queens?
Yeah, I was born in New York.
And how long were you there before your family moved to Philly?
I was like 7 years old when we moved.
Okay.
Both my parents are New Yorkers. But they had my little sister and they wanted to buy a house. And even all those years ago, you know, they realized that being out of the city was their best chance of doing that. So I think they bought their first house for something like $15,000.
In Mount Airy,
maybe it was
right?
25. Yeah, $25,000. I think is what it was.
But it was in East Oak Lane?
It was the first one. The first one was West Oak Lane. We moved on up to East Oak Lane. But West Oak Lane, near Pennypacker Elementary.
First and foremost, I mean, do you claim Philly or New York as the place where you grew up?
I claim Philly just because that's where I came of age, and the most formative years of my life are on the streets of Philadelphia for sure.
There you go. Are you? I mean, I know I'm a massive sports fan. Eagles, Sixers. Yeah. Are you a sports guy? Like, do you follow the teams, or are you kind of like fuck it, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say fuck it, whatever. But I'm not, I'm not a rabid sports fan. I follow it for sure. And I like, I'm a fan of narrative, So, I mean, I'm an Eagles fan, but, I watch the big game every year, and I'm always kind of rooting for the underdog. I love the story. I'm in it for the drama, really.
It's the beauty of sports. It's the best unscripted joint, period, ever.
Exactly.
And it's been going on for decades. So, So mom, dad, tell me a little about your family, your sister, just a little, these are the folks that, knew you first. So
yeah, my parents were kind of like beautifully nonplussed about anything I did, anything I achieved. They're not showbiz people. They're not theater people. So I think they were happy I know they were happy that I'd found something that I liked doing, something that I was, was keeping me out of trouble, and I was being affirmed in this thing. But yeah, my dad was in sales. My mom always had a real kind heart. She always worked with the aged communities. She was working in nursing homes and rehabilitation centers. And my sister kind of followed my parents' footsteps. She lives comparatively, just a real normal, respectful life. She's in Florida now. My parents live out here. My parents live out here with us. They live a few blocks away from us out in LA.
Built-in babysitters.
That's right. So it was a real, I think, like respectful middle-class upbringing. My parents both went to college, and they were, first generation college graduates, and it was kind of all geared toward that for us, that we were going to at least achieve that. We were going to get a college education.
And I think that's all folks, right? But I think Black folks in particular, in like our era, like first generation of parents going to college, maybe second, but typically first, it's like be 110%. Like, you got to get that education. You got to we set the groundwork for you to do better, right? For you to like
Right.
achieve more. Like we sacrifice so you could have like, and I think that's an interesting narrative to think about for you specifically as you start to grow and evolve as your own person and the arts come into your life. I believe you went to Kappa, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So that's Philadelphia's version of fame, you know? And, you know, I had a moment where I thought I might want to be an actor. And my dad was kind of like, hell no. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you're going to be a lawyer, a doctor, this more traditional route. How are your parents when you like really started leaning into the arts? And what age were you when that started to happen?
It took them a while. Cause I think at first they were worried that it was kind of like, me giving up on academics or something, to like go and pursue, joining the circus or something. But I think it was around 15 or so when they kind of saw that, that I had some sort of dedication and I was developing some discipline, that they decided to not stand in my way. But then certainly, I was 16 when I auditioned for this Broadway show, Rent. They were in town and
That's so
they
cute,
did
by the way. This Broadway show called Rent. So cute, Leslie.
Well, they were doing this. They were doing, before American Idol, they were doing a cattle call in the city. I heard about it on Power 99 or, whatever the radio station was. And I showed up at a cattle call. I think 800 people showed up in Philadelphia, downtown Philadelphia. And a few of us got called back, and I got called back that summer, a few more times. And then I got offered a Broadway contract. So I was 17 when I got offered a job.
That's
a professional job on Broadway. And so from then on, certainly my parents were, that I think that gave them comfort and that eased their minds a little bit that, hey, maybe this kid could make a go of this.
And what's crazy about that is you're like 2 years in to like really like this grind, and you get this incredible opportunity based off your pure talent and being the best of a bunch of 800 people while at Kappa.
Me and my dad actually had a big, there was a big kind of argument or impassioned discussion recently because there was that thing of, that you mentioned really, that generation. I make no, judgments about it. I'm grateful for it. That thing that they handed us down about achievement, right? College and that you got to get that paper and you got to, have these levels of achievement. And him and I, my son is 3. I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old. And somehow we got on the topic of what my expectations were of my kid.
Or him. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like, at what point do these kids get to be free?
It's interesting. It's interesting because, we've talked about our kids before. Mine are 3, 2, and 9 months. And the minute this little fella came out of the womb, I had all my dreams pinned on him. And it's like, to your point, I think it's like what I've learned quickly, and I think this is what you knew young and you're trying to convey to your dad probably, is like, we're guardrails at best, but it's their journey and their life to live.
Listen, so if it's not able, if my dad was to convince me, okay, it's not able, maybe say, my question is, at what point does one of these generations get to be free? And, outside of our expectations, like, I've been so blessed, where I've gotten to achieve so many of the things that were put on my heart to achieve. And so I don't know, I want my kids to find their passion, and I want them to certainly pursue a life that is interesting and fun and brings them joy and don't hurt nobody. But I don't need them to achieve anything for me,
Yeah.
I don't need them to anyway.
But maybe that has something to do with like, you've achieved so much. Like our generation, especially like people of color, we're really like the first generation that's really seen our dreams realized, like in numbers. Whereas our parents' generation was really about degree, foundation, pushing our kids to the next level. So maybe because our generation has achieved in a way that our parents could only dream of, maybe not even dream of, we're able to give our kids that flexibility that we were not given.
100%.
You know?
And we've also seen, America sort of, you know, is she making good on that promise of if you go to college and you achieve in all these ways, you are sort of, you know, our parents were told that if you do this and you do this and you do this, you will be, there's a guarantee of this kind of life. There's a guarantee of this kind of retirement. And as those things slip away, or, you know, I certainly hope those things are here for generations to come. But I've seen America fall short on that tab, you know, a couple times. And so anyway, I would love to be able to give my kids, for Nicolette and I, to be able to give these kids their liberation. You know, that too was paid for and sacrificed for by generations. But yeah, that it's theirs. It's theirs to do with it what they will.
I do think it's admirable that you're thinking that way for your kids. Because I do think there's still a lot of pressure, especially for people of color in today's America, to be great, to be better than. But that doesn't mean you can't be great and be better than while you pursue your own shit, right?
Right.
And I think that's the key.
I think that's the key, really, you know, that it's coming from them, and that it's not something that they're doing to, I think, you know, what I was trying to get my dad to understand was like, you know, I pray that I have God's eyes when I see my kids. You know, I pray that when I see them, that I can see a success possibly that the world doesn't even see. Even let's say they do achieve great, wonderful things, big things by worldly standards. I hope that that I can see something deeper than that. Or if they decide to pursue a more humble life, you know, that I can see what they were going for, and that I can perceive their success alongside them. Well, judge me on what I was trying to do, not on what, you know, this person's list or this person's trophy. I don't know.
The fact that you're thinking about it, though, that's you're halfway there. You're all the way. You're more than halfway there, right? I mean, I would like to think that. Yeah. I don't think our parents were thinking this way with that perspective.
No, they had, you know, their leg of the race was different. You know, their leg of the race was different. We have a different, which we're trying to prepare these kids for a whole different world, different challenges that they face, a whole different situation.
So Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah.
Couple questions. A, when you got in, did the people around you realize how incredibly prestigious that was to be in that program at that university? And B, do you think a lot of the way you think now was founded in like that program and those people and that access point to those people?
Both, yes. Yeah. We knew that Carnegie was, when I got to New York, I met this cat who was in the show with me. His name was Michael McElroy. And Michael was probably, you know, I was 17. Michael was probably 27. And he'd done 5 Broadway shows, and he was just so formidable. You know, he was just such an impressive cat. He was a professional, you know, and that meant something to me in a profession where we all start as amateurs, and it's hard to quantify in a subjective, in an art form, like, well, what makes you professional? You know, and to me, Michael was a pro. He was reliable. He was consistent. He was, he had a process. And so those things, I went to Carnegie Mellon to be like Michael. Michael had gone to Carnegie Mellon. And so I went to Carnegie Mellon to become Michael McElroy. I thought that was going to be the finishing school. And so I went I followed in his footsteps in that way. And my parents did understand that it was um, a hoity-toity kind of place. And then, yeah, I learned a lot. I learned a lot there. I like to say, half my education came from my professors, and then the other half came from the kids that I was studying with. They were brilliant, and they were from all different walks of life, different parts of the country. And so we learned from each other, and we stole from each other, and we taught each other by watching one another. It was a really um, it was a really good crop of kids.
That's incredible. And it feels like Rent to Carnegie Mellon kind of shaped you for your first Why Not Me moment, which was like, okay, I've done these things now. I am a professional, but now it's time to level this game up a little bit and like really get into the grind. So tell me about like post-college trying to become a professional actor. What does that look like for you in the early days?
Yeah, the first one was, I went to school especially having been in New York, having worked in the theater, I assumed that I was training and preparing to go back to the theater. So we did a showcase. We did a showcase out in Los Angeles and one in New York City. And I assumed that I would go to New York City, but I got some response out in LA. Not a ton of response, but enough that made me curious, enough that made me go, why not me? I had never thought of myself as a television actor, certainly never a film actor, but I had never thought of myself like that. But there were some people out here that seemed to. And so, yeah, that was the first one. Moving to Los Angeles, I moved here with $1,500 at the most. I think it was more like 13 or 14. And
what year are we talking?
This is 2003.
Okay.
And I committed to myself. I think I gave myself 6 months. If I didn't make a friend, if I didn't book a job, if I couldn't get housed, if I couldn't find my footing, I was not going to punish myself and stay in Los Angeles, in a way that was harmful to me. I wasn't going to sacrifice anything to stay out here. But I said, yeah, if I can make a go of it, if I can get started out there, then I'll stay as long as I can, as long as I can survive. And thankful that there were some pretty early affirmations that came that it's like you're in the right place.
So LA has been your home since 2002,
Yeah.
With bouncing back and forth when you're doing like your Broadway stuff.
Yes.
Is Lin-Manuel, like, tell me about that relationship. Tell me when you guys met. I know you guys worked on a Tick, Tick, Boom together.
Yeah.
Tell me how that all kind of came to play.
I knew Lin only, the way that people in the business. We'd see each other at parties and at opening nights and things like that. I was on a TV show that very few people were watching, a show called Smash. I think Lin had a cameo on the show, and we met at an opening night. And then we'd see each other, and we were always friendly. And then I got an email from him, asking me to be a part of this reading, which is very common in New York. When you're in New York, if you're out there, if you're in the scene, you get asked to be a part of all types of things that are in development. It just so happens that number one, Lin had already written In the Heights when I got that email from him. So I knew, I knew what a talent he was. But I had also seen an earlier version of Hamilton. I'd seen a version of the show called the Hamilton Mixtape at Vassar, at the New Works Festival at Vassar. So I doubly knew not only is a special person asking me to be a part of something, but they're asking me to be a part of something that is very special in its own right. So, we've been building and growing closer ever since then. That was probably 2014.
And we're talking about Tick, Tick, Boom, right? Like, did you do that with Lin? right?
We did, yeah. But we were already workshopping Hamilton by the time. What Tick Tick Boom was sort of that was ancillary, like
Okay.
we were already quietly developing Hamilton at the time. Him and I did Tick Tick Boom.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was confused with that. So let's get into Hamilton a little more then.
Sure.
I mean, I feel like, and you were working obviously prior to that.
Yeah.
But would that be like the career defining thing? Like that's clear, right? That's like,
yeah. Are you kidding?
So
yeah.
When you guys are workshopping it and the cast is coming together and, going through that process.
Right.
I'm curious how many actors that were in the original production were a part of the workshop? Was it you and others or?
Yeah, it was me and others. What happened was over the years, they would kind of collect people. They would try people out in the roles, and you would kind of know when somebody was gonna hang around.
Got it.
When I got there, David was already there. So David and Chris, Lin had written George Washington, especially for Chris. So I think those might have been the only two.
Okay.
Everybody else kind of, got assembled, over time. And yeah, I would see somebody come in. I was trying to hold on for dear life and, not lose my spot. But thankfully, yeah, once I was a part of it, I was never not a part of it again. And yeah, I remember when Oak got added. I remember when Anthony got added. Me and Philippa came in at the same time. So I came in right before Philippa. So I saw a person or two, take a crack at Eliza. When Philippa came, it was like, oh, well, there she is. When Renee didn't come until the public, and then it was like, well, there
she's
she is.
So fucking talented, man.
I know. So, it was really cool. It was really cool watching them assemble this championship team, kind of build it from the ground up.
Tell me about the people around you as Hamilton is becoming this cultural phenomena. Like, tell me about the people around you. The people change around you. Like, as your star was rising now, a lot of times when people say their level of fame or celebrity starts to become greater, they're faced with like people changing around them. Because a lot of times it's not you changing that much. You're still kind of who you are doing the gig, but the success and the notoriety that comes with it makes people around you a little different. Did you experience any of that stuff?
That's a good question. I don't think I did, or, not that I noticed, because with a theater, it is so gradual. Even by the time Hamilton really, broke into the zeitgeist and was everywhere. I mean, I'd been doing it, I'd probably done 400 shows by then, So,
Yeah.
Theater really is wonderfully, thankfully, it's this place where you have to earn it every night. It's not like making anything great is tough, right? You make a great movie, that shit is hard. And but then you show up for 2 years and just kind of pop champagne bottles about what you made 2 years ago. Hamilton was every single night. We had to start from a humble place. We had to earn every single audience. There's only about 1,500 people, something like that, at the Richard Rodgers Theater, and on any given night, 95% of these people have not been here before. They've heard about this thing. They've paid a lot of money for their ticket. A lot of them have their arms folded. Show me.
Expectations are here, right?
Yeah. And so we had to earn. That was our challenge every single night. We had to relax them, put them at ease, overwhelm them, get those arms unfolded every single night. And so in that way, yeah, it was just a real gradual change. And I'd say the only change that there was really was, I went from obscurity to kind of people having an idea of what I do, and a mostly positive first interaction of, their first experience of me was like, oh, I like this thing that you're part of. And so, we continue the conversation from there.
Right. Simultaneously, you're recording albums. I believe you have 5 albums now out over the last decade.
Can you believe that? Can't believe that.
That's crazy. Your last album was When a Crooner Dies.
Yeah.
Aren't you on tour? Are you touring that right now? Or
I
soon?
am. Yeah, I am. No, that's a Why Not Me too. I'm curious as to what your Why Not Me is, because for me, that's what it is. I'm delivered into these new sort of rungs of, I don't know, success, I guess, right? I've been delivered into a couple of new rungs of success. And it's like, oh, okay, well, once you climb to a certain level, I don't want to go back. I want to build from here. I want to, okay, I never anticipated achieving whatever that thing was. What can we do now? And so, the very first album I did was an album of jazz standards. And I hope that people would like that one. And then we put out a couple Christmas albums. I hope people would like those. And the next logical thing that we hadn't done was original stuff. What does that sound like? What is an original Leslie Odom Jr. song? What even is that? So we had to discover that, and give ourselves the permission first and foremost, and then the time and the space and the resources and all that stuff. Why not me?
Let me tell you something. When a Crooner Dies is fucking fire.
Thank you, man.
Your first single, I think, was called Loved. That was fire. And then Show Me, I don't know if it's a second or third track. I mean, bruh, like, you're my friend. I'm going to be a fan of what you do. But also, we're all artists and creatives and have critical eyes. But that, just as a friend, as a fan, like, that album was fire, man. I'm sure the tour is going well and people are really responding to the music. And it's interesting to see, like, you as a multi-hyphenate. You've always been one, but now you're, like, to your point, you're playing in all these different verticals at such a high level, utilizing your resources. What is that feeling inside of you right now when you think about your music career, your recording career, going on tour with your original stuff? Like, what does that do to your soul, your spirit?
Oh my God. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be walking around in the vision, because it was fuzzy. It was super hazy. So to become the artist I always wanted to be is just like, there's nothing like it. That kind of actualization. Nothing
They call
like
it pinch me moments, right?
Oh my God. Well, there was an artist that I always revered. I respected, and there was a type of artist that I was a fan of. And early on, I put myself in a different category. I didn't think that I was an artist like those people were artists. I did a different kind of thing. It was fine, but those people really do something special, man. And somewhere in my mid-20s, I got really tired of other people's work inspiring me, but not my own. And so I had to go about, my self-respect demanded that I tried to become an artist that I would respect. I had to try to make work that was going to inspire me first. Even if it doesn't touch anybody else, it's got to hit me first. And so that was really a life-changing moment. And the tour right now is just, all I can say is, like, it feels like the beginning. It feels like, we're at the beginning of something that is, it's really good now. I think it's, I'm really proud of it. I'm so happy for the people that are coming, and it has tremendous potential, and there's so much room to grow.
Yeah. We've talked about this before, like, and it's kind of what you're saying, like, you taking control of your shit, right? Taking control of your career. You call the shots. You live and die on your own sword. Obviously, this is what you're doing with the music. Life post-Hamilton, you had a fuckload of opportunities. One Night in Miami, I want to talk to you about that in a second. But we talked about producing, and another Why Not Me moment for you. Pearly Victorious, I saw it from the beginning. You know, I saw you like dream about it. I saw you dream in general about producing, and then I saw this become the thing. I saw you build it. I saw you on stage. I hugged you after. Like we clinked our glasses.
Yeah.
Tell me about that journey of Pearly and paying homage to Mr. Davis and Miss D and like the whole thing, like the pressure of that and the joy.
Yeah. Man, it felt like one of those things that was like a spiritual mandate. You know, there are certain things that I believe we are inspired to do. And if we don't do them, they don't get done. Certainly not in the way that we would do them. Pearly hadn't been done in 62 years. And so, yeah, I saw a little hazy vision, a little, you know, I felt a little thing. I feel like I should be doing it. And so I follow those things now. I don't question them. You know, what I'm inspired to do, I try to just get busy doing the thing that I'm inspired to do. And I let God figure out the rest. So, I'm so thankful, for the experience of that production, because as a producer, you know, first time producer, that's what was most important to me, was that we made something that felt seminal, that we made something that it wasn't about how good I was going to be, you know, oh, you got to go see the productions, but you got to go see Leslie, whatever, you know, like that, nothing selfish like that, that I really
You checked me on that, by the way. I said some shit to you like, oh, I talked about Tonys and awards, and you were like appreciative of the critique, but you were also like, that's how I'm doing this shit.
Bro.
So much respect.
Nah, bro. That was something for the ancestors. That was something, hopefully, the goal was to make some, you know, was to dole out some good food for the culture, you know? Anyway, so no, I'm just so proud of it. Top to bottom, Kenny, Kara, Billy, I'm saying names. If you haven't seen the production, none of these names mean anything. But we're the production's we filmed it for PBS.
Yes.
So May 24th, even if you didn't see it on Broadway, you'll be able to see it. So I'm proud of the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the Hamilton was and that is what, you know, after Hamilton, I really had, you know, as an actor, as a creator, as a producer, all those things, you know, what can I take with me from this experience? What is repeatable? Some, you know, I can't always take Lin-Manuel with me. Like, so I don't have that, but what do I have? I saw them assemble that company of artists, like that you've got. I saw them, number one, also make sure that the writing was up to snuff, you know? So it's the material that I choose, I can get better at choosing my films, but the material that I choose, making sure that the writing is worthy of the effort. And then, and then just creating that environment where the lighting designer and the production designer and the costume designer, and that everybody feels like they're part of it and everybody can do their best. And this achievement belongs to all of us. And we're going to need all of our collective genius, our collective wisdom to make this thing work. And so anyway, that is what, you know, that is something, you know, worthy, I think, of being proud of. And not the pride doesn't just belong to me; it belongs to Nicolette, and it belongs certainly to
family
Jeffrey
affair.
Richards. And it was just an amazing experience, bro.
Well, I was really, really excited for you. And again, the work was incredible. I think the fact, you know, every time I talked to someone about the show, they had nothing but wonderful kind of things to say about you and the performance. And Vanessa Bell Calloway, just some gems that you assembled to kind of tell this story and to pay homage to Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee. So congratulations on that again. Let's talk about One Night in Miami.
Let's do it.
How did that happen? Tell me the process of how you got the role.
There is no talking about One Night in Miami without talking about Regina King. One Night in Miami, you know, she was coming, you know, she had a lot of pressure that she willingly took on, you know, her directorial debut in film. It was the first project she did after winning her Oscar. And so she just cared for it like a legend would. And she did all those things that I'm talking about, really top down, side to side, made sure that it was populated by people that were not only gifted, but also gave a damn.
Yeah.
It was a tense 6 weeks. I think it was 6 weeks that we shot that movie. Kemp's script was not easy.
Yeah.
But my God, Kingsley Ben-Adir as Malcolm, my God.
Brilliant.
Really was our leader. Kingsley really set the bar after Regina. Regina and Kingsley, really set the bar for us all. But I was just so thankful to be a part of it. There are some directors, that in my experience, there's like three kinds of directors, maybe. And I'm gonna see if this is not bullshit. But there's the kind of director that recognizes when a fire has started, when a fire has begun, and knows how to kind of stay out of the way and capture it or support it. This is rare, but there's also, certain kind of directors that wouldn't know a fire if they were on fire. You know what I mean? And you have to kind of protect yourself from a little bit of insensitivity from some. And then there's a director like Regina who is helping you start the fire. Who knows if a fire is needed, she's a conspirator, she's kindling, she is, she's gasoline. You know what I mean? Yep. She is just one of the best we've got. That's all.
Obviously, her acting career helped inform her directing career, and she obviously knows how to talk. I just interviewed Aldis also a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
We've talked about this a bunch, about that show or that film and that shoot, and he was just mesmerized by her leadership and how she knew how to handle actors. But it's innate, she grew up doing it, so she's wired for success, man.
Yep.
You write books, huh?
Sometimes.
Talk to me about being an author and just any other aspirations to write more.
Definitely. It is so hard. It helps. A good editor is essential. My God. But it's just that it just forces me to, I think it is the highest form of communication. It's higher than speaking because you must consider it. And you edit and you parse down and you get specific and you choose your words. And so it's the highest form of communication. I'm just grateful on simply for the ability to read and write, for the ability to communicate in that way. I have young children, so that's why I stress it to them, the importance of it. And there's nothing that makes me prouder than watching my kids learning how to read and growing in that way. Cause, it's big, man. It's big, that our greatest challenges in this country were written into law. They were written.
Yeah,
and
man.
So, and they were struck down through argument and through the written word, through understanding the reading and comprehending and understanding where the pitfalls were and where they could be attacked, how those arguments, how those laws could be attacked and circumvented and challenged. And so reading and writing, learning to communicate in that way, it's just gravely important. for our people.
It's powerful.
Yes, God.
Absolutely
Gravely
powerful.
important for our people. So writing is important to me, and I do want to do more of it, especially when it comes to stories, you know, to telling stories. There's a couple scripts I want to get out someday.
You know, we publish books now, right?
Oh shit.
We just put our third title out called Wildlife, Black female ecologist, Yale graduate. Anyway, I'll talk about that offline. But
was it a Why Not Us?
Yeah, it was a Why Not Us moment. Yeah, absolutely. We were in this hustle, trying to tell stories, trying to create content, and it just felt like the more verticals we have to play within, the more opportunity we have to share. And we don't have to pigeonhole ourselves by saying we only do TV or we only do film. You know, we only do this. Like, we do it all. You know, what's the story and what's the best place for it to live? And maybe there's multiple verticals for that story to live in. But we always wanted to create the opportunity for ourselves to have the autonomy to tell stories in their truest and best form. And books, to your point, we love to read. We're all English majors at my company. So the idea of the power of the written word that lives forever.
Yeah.
Once you put it out, it's a real responsibility with that. So we wanted to kind of curate really incredible voices and incredible stories, and be a part of that truth telling. So yeah.
I'm such a huge fan of what y'all have built, man. I mean, you know, what you and John have built has been a big inspiration and a big liberator for multi-hyphenates, and, you know, for multi-hyphenates that look like us, because you guys have built on your own story, and you've continued to imagine new heights for yourselves. And I've loved how bold you've been and how creative you've been in all the spaces, man. It really has set a lot of us free. So
thank you for that. I appreciate that. Well, you know, someone who thinks like that and curates those types of thoughts like you just did, it makes sense that you are one of Time's 100. What the phone call, you find out. I mean, that's it. Like, that's massive. That's all the folks, man. Like, what did that moment feel like when you got the call?
It was meaningful. You and I both know that there's lots of lists every year, and most of the time you ain't on them. And the more you learn about them, sometimes the more jaded you can be. You know, you're like, oh, you know, that is not as honest a list as I once thought, or whatever. You know, those certain kind of awards and stuff. But I don't know, the Time 100, it meant something to me. And at the end of the day, they all are. They're only whatever they mean to you. They're whatever they mean to you. And so I did let that one, you know, I let it matter. You know what I mean? Like, it was nice to be included this year. And you know what was most important to me about it, Mike, was that this year, really the only thing I had out was this album that I made, you know, all original music, and this Broadway show that a great American wrote, a great African American, great Black American wrote, that I produced alongside my wife and, you know, delivered to the community. I don't know, the fact that my offerings this year were in theater and in music, that it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't because I was a part of Bridgerton Part 2, or, you know, that it wasn't some big, you know what I'm trying to say, right?
It was your thing. You built, you cultivated these opportunities from passion and desire and, like, just truth telling. You know what I mean? And respect and honor.
And they felt, I mean, I guess they felt, it felt niche. You know what I mean? Like it felt like it was happening in a little corner of the world instead of, you and I both, I know you work with we know very, very famous people that do things that's what I meant about the Bridgerton of it all. Things that are just like everywhere and everybody knows about them. And these things are not that, these little projects, but the fact that somebody looked at my output and said that it was worthy to stand next to these other 99 people's accomplishments. I let it matter.
Listen, I'm not gonna let you sell yourself short, bro. Like your shit is always gonna matter. Your voice is always gonna matter, and you deserve everything you get.
Thanks,
I have some fun stuff I want to talk about as well. Let's ask you a bunch of fun questions. But before I ask the first question, just tell me, because every time I see you, you're the most stylish motherfucker I know. Your fit game is so strong.
I've been working with my stylist now for about 7-8 years.
Oh, wow.
So we've really developed a real brotherhood and understanding. And I'll tell you this too. I've gotten really comfortable with delegation, the things that I'm not good at. I mean, I have a vision, right? But how exactly we get there, I sometimes I leave to people that's your gift. I don't know if I could walk into Nordstrom's and put some of the things that he puts me in. I couldn't necessarily put it together myself, but I spoke the vision to him, and this brother, 7-8 years later, has really made it come to life.
Well, it's fucking working, bro. That's for
Thanks,
sure. Most favorite Hollywood crush? Like, what's your biggest Hollywood crush? Forget your wife for a second.
Yeah. The first one that came to mind, it's hard to get past Halle Berry.
Yeah. Standard.
When you say Hollywood, especially, she's got, she really evoked like that Dorothy Dandridge, that glamour, that vulnerability. At the end of the day, nothing when I look back, man, nothing has been sexier to me than talent. Nothing is sexier to me than talent. Like, whoa. When I get in there with somebody and I really find somebody that can dance, like find somebody that can really just roll around in it with you, pardon the pun, it's it's just the sexiest thing in the world. So she's who comes to mind first, but there's been plenty, believe me.
Nobody is mad at the Halle Berry. Maybe you've already done this with Aaron Burr, but the question is, you could live in any time period and be any age. What time period would it be, and how old would you be, and why?
My God, that's a hard one for Black folks,
That's
hard, because good Lord. But
it's true.
But there does feel like there was something that happened within us, from 62, my God, to 69 or whatever, it ended. It's hard to, I'd want to go back, but my God, the heartache of that time. They had their hearts broken again and again and again. And they kept getting up, they got up again and again. So I guess, since you asked, why not? I'd go back to, if I could be like 12 in 1962, I'd go back.
That's interesting. I love this question. What's the worst rumor that was ever spread about you?
Oh God, like I'm gonna tell you that. I can't answer that without even being too specific, because I don't want to give people too much shine, especially for some shit that faded away ultimately. But I heard this wise statement one time that, when people can't control you, they will do their best to control the story about you.
Say that's the truth.
And so, so there was a time in my life where there seemed to be a concerted effort to to tell a story about me, about the kind of person that I was that was hurtful and untrue. And I didn't really know how to combat it other than showing up in my life and, you know, in the truth of who I was and just, and one person at a time, change it in that way. And over time, it went away. I wanted it to, at the time, man, right? You want to set fire to it. You want to, you know, shut their mouths in a way that, that is loud and would be humbling and all that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that at the time, but eventually, yeah, they faded away.
Good for them. Bye. What's your favorite curse word and use it in a sentence?
Oh man, it was the one that was growing up in the church. It was the one that was most. It was the most sacrilegious one. I heard it because my dad grew up in the projects in Queensbridge, so I heard every curse word said in the most colorful, fun, funny, violent, interesting ways. You're like, nobody curses like my dad, except all his friends. But even my dad would like sort of, the one that we didn't hear around the house that often was one that I got to say 8 shows a week in Hamilton, which was like super interesting. What does it go? Hamilton doesn't hesitate. He exhibits no strength. Takes and he takes and he takes and he keeps winning anyway. Changes the game, plays and he raises stakes. And if there's a reason he seems to die, so few survive, then God damn it, I'm willing to wait for it. God damn it.
God damn it. That was the most beautiful delivery of that question we've had thus far in this podcast.
Yo, but it's that one. And church kids will know. That's one you don't
Lord's
really say,
vain, right?
Yeah, and I have respect for that. I still believe in that. But there was something about a perfectly placed, one of those perfectly placed, means something.
Fuck with that. Fuck has been the overwhelming number one word, by the way.
Yeah.
It's great to hear another word. And then the delivery was just incredible. One of these artists has got to go.
Oh, shit.
J. Cole, Kendrick, or Drake? And why?
Oh. Oh, what? Yeah, I was just thinking about how much I hate these questions.
You're welcome.
I know. Oh my God, this is a barbershop question. Well, I mean, Kendrick is dear to me, man. I'm a Kendrick kind of cat. So he can't go anywhere. So now we have Drake and J. Cole. I'm gonna stand on. I'm going to stand on J. Cole only because I don't, the music hasn't really found its way to me in a large enough quantity for like, if all the J. Cole in my personal library disappeared, I wouldn't really notice that much. Okay. Kendrick and Drake, I would feel that absence.
Feel that loss. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. That's a great segue to my next question. So you're so musical. Outside of your own music,
yeah,
do you have a specific playlist that you created or an album that you're listening to the most right now? Or artist that you're listening to the most?
Right now.
Currently, yes.
I think it's kind of like, I think consistently, the most, it's not going to be anybody that's, that's like hot right now. Like once I like tapped into the fact that I'm trying, that the stuff that I'm trying to create is, I'm trying to create things that exist in the continuum, that exist like in that timeless space. And so it's always Coltrane. It's always Marvin. It's you know, my contemporary brethren, I love PJ's stuff. And others, of course, you know, but those are probably like the three that I go to most often, depending how I want to feel. It's Coltrane, it's Marvin, it's PJ, it's Kendrick.
I think that's beautiful, first of all. And second of all, I don't think it has to be like the hottest artist right now. You know, I think we've had people, gospel artists, I mean, we've had the answers have been really varied and more often than not like who's number one on the charts right now. So I think that's great. Two more questions. And this is, you know, who's your number one favorite co-star that you've worked with?
This is so fucked up, bro.
It is fucked up.
'Cause I've loved everybody. My number one favorite co-star. Okay. I mean, I'll say Kingsley. I'll say Kingsley. You know, I walked away with the Oscar nomination that year for One Night in Miami, but it was only because, Kingsley did not let up.
He's tough, bro. He's tough.
He did not let up on me. He did not let up on the room. He was so fully immersed and so intense that he pulled us into his world. You know, that One Night in Miami, we might have thought we showed up there for Cassius, but we showed up there for Malcolm. That was Malcolm's night in Miami. And Kingsley made it feel that way. And so when you're working with somebody like that, you know, you can't help but to rise to their occasion.
Yeah, man. I've never met that brother, but I also saw him as Marley.
Yeah.
And he was, you could just feel the commitment and the dedication jump off the screen. Like this brother, like, he's the guy. He's taking that
spectacular.
Shit. Yeah, it is truly, he truly respects the craft. When this beautiful life comes to an end and the time to transition is upon us, what would you like your tombstone to read?
Something like, Daddy, we love you. Something like that. Something simple like that.
That's what we're doing it for, right?
Yeah.
Doing it for our babies. I love that answer, man. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I know you're busy. You always take my calls. 75% you say yes.
I'll always take the call, bro.
Always take the call. And it's always respect. This was so much fun. Good luck with the tour.
Thank you.
And glad to call you a friend. Thank you.
Yeah, bro. Be well.